What's up everybody, this is Greg Newberry with another math tutoring video for you. This time we're going to jump into a full cumulative review of Algebra 1. To keep up along with this lesson, there's going to be a link down below to download the worksheet, and we're just going to run it off the PDF. And then if you have questions or anything, go ahead and leave those in the comments below and I'll get to those. If you want to go ahead and skip ahead to the exciting parts, there's a table of contents down below with general headers and some timestamps you can click into. If this is your first time on the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right there. That's going to let you get notified whenever we post new videos. And also, if you get any value out of this, if at any point you learn something, go ahead and smash that like button that's right next to the subscribe. And that's going to help us making content like this that you can enjoy. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the worksheet. So moving on to number 8, we're asked to determine whether each graph represents an increasing function, a decreasing function, or a combination of those, or a constant function. So number 8, we have a function where, like I just described before, does not have a constant slope. It is not a linear function, but the only thing that it's ever doing is increasing. If you draw your graph, if you sketch it, you're going up and to the right. That is an increasing function. This is not even actually that great of a drawing. It kind of did more like that. We can easily describe this as an increasing function and move on to number 9, which is doing a little bit of each, I'd say. You should recognize that as an absolute value function, which has a V shape. This is the only graph that will produce a V shape. And in that way, we are decreasing here, and then we are increasing over here on the right-hand side. Therefore, it is doing both. Number 10 is a constant function. We have a horizontal line, which means that if we were to call this any value, I'll say it's 2. It could be anything. But regardless of the x value, remember that's this axis here, we get the same y value of 2, which makes this a constant function. It doesn't change. You could put in 1, 10, or 100 for x, and it would always give you 2. This is a constant function. So number 11 asks us to determine whether each graph represents a function with an absolute minimum, an absolute maximum, or neither. So if you remember, this is something that happens a lot of times with quadratics, where they have an absolute maximum or an absolute minimum. So number 11 has a parabola opening in the negative direction, which means that at some point, we'll say here, it incurs an absolute maximum value, and then it returns back down to negative infinity. So this one has an absolute max. I have never done this before. This is my first video. If you're getting some value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button down there. That's going to help me out a lot. And that's going to help me bring a lot of more content just like this. Number 12, same style question, but a different graph. An absolute value graph here, where they're asking us to identify that it does have here an absolute minimum value. So that's a pretty straightforward question. And then number 13, which I'm just going to squeeze in right here, they give me a d of t equals 120. So it doesn't really matter what those stand for. This, if we were to graph it, would be a horizontal line, just like number 10, where it is always equal to 120. So this is just a constant function, so they would have neither an absolute minimum or an absolute maximum. Moving on to number 14, we're asked to write an inequality for each of the graphs. So if we just do a quick sketch here, and I'm just going to draw some dots here to imply numbers in between, and then it ends at positive 11, and it is open circle over negative 8, closed over 11, and it has a line connecting the two. That means that our value, whatever it is, we'll call it x, must lie between 11 and negative 8. And then if we look that we are closed circle over 11, that means that we can be equal to number 11, and we're going to draw an underscore line to represent that. Number 15 says that we are between negative 11, 12, 13, 14. Am I writing that right? Negative 14. And closed circle. And again, I'm just going to use 3 dots to represent that there are numbers between here. If it helps you to put the number 0 whenever you cross from the negative to the positive numbers, that can sometimes be useful just in a test-taking scenario where it can help you establish certain things about inequalities. Then you should by all means write that. And we are between negative 14 and positive, is that positive 5? So close circle over that. Usually just draw a line connecting the two to represent that we can be any number in between. And if we write that as an algebraic statement, like x is between negative 14 and 5. And since we can be equal to either number on the end, we will represent that again with an underscore. 16 says to write a compound inequality for the situation. And then that the flowers in the garden are 6 inches or taller, so x can be greater than or equal to 6 inches, or we have, oh, I'm gonna run out of room. We have x is less than 3. Let's do this. Let's call this 6, and we can be greater than or equal to. We'll darken the arrow. And then we have, practically speaking, a flower can be no more than 0 inches or no less than 0 inches short. So we'll denote that here with a closed circle over that. Oh, actually, not a closed circle over 3 because we can be shorter than 3 inches. We can't be equal to 3 inches. Maybe that's where they've got the mower set and they just... All right, moving on. We have number 17, which asks us to represent the solution to each part of the compound inequality on the number line, then write a final solution that is represented by each graph. Okay, and they give us some lines to graph on. So number 17 says x greater than 2 and x less than or equal to 7. So if we graph that, then we have x greater than 2. So we'll put an open circle over 2. And, oh, I guess I should bring that over to this side of the number line since we're between 2 and 7. I actually haven't done any of these worksheets ahead of time just to ensure that I respond to this the same way the student would if they're seeing it at the same time. Okay. 7. Done. All right, let's go to number 18. X greater than 10 or x greater than 6. So I would write that like this. Because if it is greater than 10, then it is also greater than 6. So we can represent this with a single line, I guess is how I would do it. We'll see. I think the answer key is on the bottom of this thing, so we will see how we do. Wouldn't it be really ironic if I got like a really bad grade on this? Y'all hit the like button anyways. Hit the like button for getting a bad grade on something where you thought you had a good grade. And x is less than 3. So we've got greater than 4 and less than 3. So that is the empty set. 3 here, here, here. As you can see, that is a group of numbers that does not exist. So 20, says that x is between -8 and +8. We could rewrite it like this. So then we'd say -8, +8, and we have to be greater than or equal to here, and then less than here. Again, if you want to put 0 there to help clean up that graph for continuity. So 21 says to solve the compound inequality and then graph and describe the solution. So we have -5x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 16, or x minus 6 is less than or equal to -8. Now let's just solve one and then we'll do the other. So we've got -1 here. That's -5x. Now it'd be 15. And then we would just divide by -5. And now remember, whenever we divide or multiply by a negative with an inequality, we have to flip the sign. So we're going to say now that x is less than or equal to -3. And then we're going to move over here to this. Should be pretty straightforward review. We are still going to keep the same sign, and -8 plus 6 is -2. So then we want to graph the solution. So we want to be less than or equal to -3, or less than or equal to -2. 0 over here on this side, we can have -2, we can have -3, less than -3, it's that way, close in that circle, and then the less than or equal to -2, I don't know, if this was like a test question, I would probably start moving through other questions before I concern myself too heavily with whether or not this was 1 or 2 lines. I would probably, if I had to like select an answer and then move on and then not look back at this, and you guys have the benefit of the doubt now because you've probably seen the answer key by now, I would probably just erase this one and kind of move on. Actually, why don't we just take a quick peek, look at the answer key, and just see what's going on here. So if I scroll down here to the very bottom, and this is why it helps to have the answer key while you're doing your homework assignments or test review or whatnot. You certainly don't want to proceed on a question like this without having a firm understanding of which is it. And then if and only if we don't have an answer in the answer key, then we can kind of tag that as a list of items that we're going to ask the teacher, hopefully if we have some time between now and when we're being tested. So we're going to scroll down here, 13, 18, 21. Here's the answer key. It says, and they have one closed circle to the left over -2. So that's kind of what we were saying. Kind of weird question, I guess not kind of weird question, because these other pieces here do have, like number 20 has 2 lines with arrows on the ends, and then number 19 has what we have. So this is a good chance to pause, and if we're getting some value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button down there. That's really going to help this video move up in the results on YouTube search whenever people are looking for content like this. So if you're enjoying this, getting some value here, go ahead and hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. That's going to also keep you up to date on all the newest videos and things that I publish. Hit that button. It will make this video more popular, and it will encourage the creation of other content just like this. So that's going to wrap it up for part 1. Go ahead and click right here, or maybe over here somewhere, and we'll have part 2 linked up so you can keep going. All right, guys, good luck. We'll see you guys in the next one.